Hey guys, what's up? This is Meathead Miguel from meatheadgaming.com, and today I wanted to make a little bit of a shorter video. It's going to be a follow-up to the Super Tank Bar build video that I posted a couple days ago, and I'm basically going to be doing the same thing with a monk. And one of the pieces of feedback that I got was, the video was kind of long, just kind of show us what you did first and then explain it, so I'm going to do just that. We're going to roll into Tournament 6, Act 3, and I'm going to show you guys how this handles white mobs and then how it handles elites. And then I'll kind of discuss the build. So we got a lot of white mobs here. And I'm not really going to explain anything until I just show this to you guys for a little bit. And then we'll hunt down an elite. So this is a lot of tanking from white mobs. Can handle damage pretty well actually. And you guys can kind of theory craft for the next few seconds about what I'm doing here and what kind of build I'm using, and how this is actually incredibly tanky for all intents and purposes. So that's that. Now let's go ahead and find us an elite. And this is Tournament 6, so I'm not going to show you guys the lower difficulties because at this level of gear that I have, I'm pretty much immune to death, just like with the Barb. On lower tournament difficulties, this is basically as hard as it gets, and this guy is actually not as well geared as my Barb was. Just because, this is the last day. It's not even a day. We have like a few hours before ROS is released at the time of this recording, so it's not worth it for me to try to gear up for something that I'm going to be testing more in depth later. And it just doesn't make sense for me to do a whole lot more with this gear wise. But for anyone who is playing a monk who has a hard time staying alive or just wants to be like super tanky, this is a good way to go about it. And you see, if you guys can see, I'm standing in a lot of elemental effects right now, and I'm not using any kind of potions or anything like that. And there's actually even a better way to do this, but I don't have the correct gear for it. So anyway, let's go ahead and restart this, and I'll show you guys what I'm actually doing here. I will link the other video in the description below, just so you guys can see it and get a better explanation for exactly what I'm doing. But let's just jump right in. And this is kind of like showcasing the power of toughness stacking and different forms of damage mitigation when combined with a really high hit point per second life regeneration. So first things first, my build, I'm basically going to be focusing on really high life regen, to the point where once I get low on health, especially once near-death experience procs, I'm going to be regenerating anywhere from 15 up to 20% of my total life pool every second, just passively. And this is going to be huge for ROS when there is no lifesteal and you need passive regeneration. So let's go through this build real quick. This is something that on Torment 6 I use, just because this will pretty much make you invulnerable. When the third strike increases your armor by 40%, I'm going to end up at over 10,000 armor with this. Inner Sanctuary, Safe Haven, it's huge damage reduction and a heal. This basically is kind of like Serenity Ascension almost. It makes you immune to damage. I didn't want to use Serenity in this case just because that's a very commonly used skill. This is something that's not used very often, but it will, because it reduces your damage by so much and gives you crazy healing per second, which it doesn't show up in the character window, but it does give a lot. It does work. This is just an alternate skill you can use. I'm using Enduring Ally for the life per second regen. This is just to get around. This, you can use whatever, I'm not using it in this video. And Mantra of Healing Sustenance for even more life per second regen. Now here's the interesting thing about Mantra of Healing. So of all the different mantras, really your two options are going to be Sustenance and Time of Need. And they're very close together. Sustenance is going to give you a lot more regen, which kind of stacks more, but Time of Need is actually going to give you crazy all resist, so with a little bit less regen. So you can kind of flip-flop these two and just figure out which one is better for you. But when I show this to you guys again here in a few minutes, I'm actually going to switch to Time of Need. But for now, I'm going to use Sustenance. And so that's that. And for passives, I'm using Seize the Initiative for more armor. One with Everything, this is huge. I'll explain how awesome One with Everything is, especially in ROSC. A lot of people, they think that just because you can't roll all resist and a secondary resist on the same piece of gear, that One with Everything is not very effective. Well, that's not true whatsoever, for two reasons. Reason number one is secondary resists roll as, or individual resists roll as a secondary stat. They're not a primary stat. So, on like a piece of armor, let's say a piece of chest armor, if you use One with Everything, you can get, dex, vitality, armor, and 3 sockets. Those are your 4 primary stats. And then as your secondary, you get, your resist of choice. So you end up with like basically an extra slot for a stat roll. For armor, so you can get very, very high armor by using One with Everything because it moves your resistances to a secondary stat and not a primary stat. The other reason this is so good is because secondary stats roll, or secondary, like individual resists, they roll a lot higher than all resist. I'm not sure exactly what they roll up to, and guys, ROS is going to be released in a few hours, so we'll find out. But at the time of recording, I'm not sure what they roll, but I think at 70, all resist rolls up to like maybe 100, and then individual resists roll up to I think like 150 or so. So it's like a 50% boost. And then on certain items, I believe like Thunder God's Vigor rolls lightning resist up to 200 even. So that's pretty nuts. The downside to One with Everything is that it's going to be harder to gear for it. You have to basically, you have another variable, you have another stat that has to roll, because you're going to have to still re-roll something most likely. But now, you're going to have to roll like either 3 primary stats with a secondary that you want, and then just re-roll your last primary, or roll like perfect primaries, or not, yeah, roll perfect primaries, but then have to re-roll your secondary resist to get what you want. So it's going to be it's going to take more re-rolling. You're going to have to find gear that's a little bit better from the get-go to make this super efficient, but this is incredible passive, and I'm most certainly going to use this. I don't really see myself even using any builds in ROS without either one with Everything or Seize the Initiative, depending on what gives more toughness. But anyway, as far as items go, and here's also why Seize the Initiative or One with Everything is so awesome, because you're going to have certain craftable items like the Demon Set, and there is one at level 70 which rolls fire resist by default. So I have 100 here, or 91 here, 100 here, 100 here. So if you're rolling set items like this, then, or you're crafting set items like this, then you're guaranteed basically an all resist slot. And like this chest right here is almost perfect. Like what I would need here, slightly higher dex roll would be good, and if I got high vitality instead of life percentage, because this is still kind of a low vitality build, then high vitality would actually be better than the life percentage on here. But this is basically, besides that, this is basically a perfect chest because it rolled perfect fire resist. I have my 3 sockets, I have my primary, I have my armor, and now I just need vitality instead of life percent for that slightly better boost. But this is kind of the defensive gearing that you're going to want to do. And then, the other secondary stat that could probably roll something better, like melee reduction, range reduction. This life after kill is kind of stupid. But the point that I'm trying to make is you're going to get your fire resist, like with a set like this, as a secondary stat. So it makes, One with Everything give you a ton of all resist. So, anyways, moving on. I'm just using this as a, this is whatever. I'm just using this for the vitality and the dex. Boots, you probably saw these from the other video with the barb. You know, I didn't craft anything different there. You've already seen the Storm Shield, Rogar's Huge Stone, the String of Ears, the Eye of Like, again, guys, go watch the other video. I explain everything in a lot more detail. Same bracers, same helm, different gloves. You know, and here I would have, like, this is actually a pretty good roll because you got Dex Vitality, comes with armor and crit chance. I really would have wished that this would have rolled Fire Resist, but that is something that I can reroll, I believe. So, you know, you could reroll that and get even more secondary resist. And then you guys have seen the Justice Lantern. Now, I do believe that this could be just as tanky, if not more so, than the Barb video that I showed. The only problem is that's not going to be the case at level 60. And the reason for that is because the game is now balanced around 70 and not 60. And one of the kind of nerfs that they did for 60 is reducing the dodge percentage that you get from dexterity. And once you get to, like, in ROS, your primary stat's going to be, you know, around 10,000 with good gear. And that's when your dodge chance is going to increase, like, to a pretty healthy amount. You know, I think it should be above 50%. But even with this much dex, I'm only at 23% dodge. So, and this is my, like, primary defensive stat. So the monk is going to be weaker at 60. But I think at 70, this dodge is going to go up significantly, and it's going to make up for where it's lacking now. So here's the interesting stuff. Life per second, 8760. That's huge because I'm stacking it. You know, I got it on my items. I got let's see, got 817 here. Got some life per second here, and just on a couple item pieces. You know, I got my Templar with life regeneration. I have my Mystic Ally with life regen. I have crazy life regen from here. And on this skill where it says heal amount is increased by 30% of your life per second, I don't know exactly how it calculates that 30% because it's not exactly accurate. And I do believe that it actually includes the mantra of healing, like life regeneration itself. So it actually takes your life regen that you have without this, plus this 1651 that it has, and it takes like 30% of that, and then it adds it all together. I did the math, I played around with a couple numbers, and it gets me close to 8760, but not exact. So from the testing that I did do, this 30% does include all of your life regeneration without this buff, but also includes the life regeneration on the buff itself. So there you go. There's just a little bit of an error that I'm not sure what that is. Not super important. And also one actually passive that I forgot to mention that's going to work really well with this build is this right here, Near Death Experience. Obviously very valuable in hardcore, but the really major thing here is once it procs, like, this does several things. So first of all, Near Death Experience essentially gives you double your toughness. So if I'm at, you know, almost 5 mil toughness, this basically gives me 10 million toughness because I can go down to 0% health twice before I'm actually dead, you know, every 60 seconds. But the other interesting thing that it does is it increases, you know, the globe healing bonus, not a big deal, but the life per second and life per hit by 35% while it's on cooldown. So the first time you die in this, you know, this procs, then you're going to have really, really high regen until, you know, you either die or it goes off cooldown again. So this is a really, really nice passive. I really like this change that they made. And obviously the lower your health goes, the more your Rogar's Huge Stone procs. So we're going to try a couple things. First I'm going to show you guys how much HP per second I'm actually regenerating. And, well, now that I think about it, one thing I did still want to mention that I forgot is the Paragon Point distribution. So, sorry guys, I'm a little all over the place because I'm really excited for ROS. Like, it's coming, guys, so, you know, I'm not 100% focused. Anyway, I got my move speed on here. You guys, you know, if you watched my previous videos, you know I talk plenty about Paragon Point distribution, how to do it the right way. And Dex, you know, I don't care for Vitality at this point. I want to boost my toughness through non-Vitality stats. Cooldown reduction, part of it's for near-death experience, but it's also just for other spells in general, and then crit chance, crit damage. Defensive, again, you know, I would love to have all of these, and actually for a build like this, everything matters. but I went with all resist. Again, this is going to be the most important part. The passive life regen, this number is going to be huge in ROS. And then I'm starting to stack armor. And then here I just have resource cost reduction for kicks, life on hit, and then I'm starting to stack area damage. So anyways, let's see how my life regen actually changes when I'm taking on these mobs. So I'm at, I'm already at like 9,000 life regen. Let's see how crazy high my life regen gets. And I'm actually taking on an elite right now, so let's see how high this goes. So 11,000, and I probably will die. Let me get to over here so you guys can see what's actually going on the battlefield. So this is going to jump to really, really high amounts, and right now I'm actually tanking a Torment 6 Elite, not doing anything. And it is going to proc right there, but now my life regen is actually going to go up to like almost... At a lower level, it'll actually go up to almost like 18,000, which is huge. And with the gear that I have on here, because it's not perfect, it's not as good as the Barb's gear, and because I don't have flat mitigation like the Barb, and because dodge is heavily nerfed pre-ROS, that I am going to die eventually. But that's just if I stand still. Like right now, I'm not doing anything; I'm just standing still. And this life per second, I want to show it to you guys when it actually gets to about 18,000. Come on. Yeah, see, there you go, 18,000 for a brief second. I don't even want to die. So skill-wise, but here's the thing. My toughness, if I keep spamming Kenai, my armor goes up to 10,000. And so for those of you guys who are having trouble staying alive, this is a really good spirit generator to use if you just keep spamming it every 3 seconds, because it's going to give you just stupid toughness. And you guys can see that all I'm doing is just left clicking, and I'm staying topped off. And this is without lifesteal, this is just kind of a tanky build. And then, if I really felt like it, I could really stay topped off by popping Sanctuary for damage reduction and just standing inside the circle. So now my health isn't even budging. This is Torment 6, so this is kind of how you can do it. Another thing I want to show you guys is the difference between sustenance and time of need, because right now my toughness is at 4.9. I think it was around 6 mil when I was using Kenai, and my resist started 1194. But now let me switch to time of need, and now I get almost 1 million extra toughness. My resists go up to the 1400s, but my life per second drops from 8700 to about 6900. However, this is very, very close because of the extra mitigation. And guys, this is with bad gear. Like this right here, I would much rather that this rolled with socket. Like if this had Dex, Vitality, Armor, and sockets, and high-level diamonds in here, and high-level diamonds in here, and life here, like you could gear this out to be immune to damage. And so for anyone who is going to be building a tank monk or a pole monk, that's always going to be useful, for whatever runs happen to be. Like pole monks are going to be so useful, and this right here is kind of the basis for a pole monk. Like all you have to do is put Cyclone here, or Cyclone Strike, and there you go. There's your pole monk. You don't need to do anything different. You could do any other skills you want. You don't even have to use Sweeping Wind. Like just pick one, do something. And that's something I'm going to experiment with later. But this is kind of the foundation for a super tanky pole monk. So let's see what this looks like with time of need. And again, I'm just going to stand here, take some damage. I'm going to reposition a little bit so I'm in between them, so I end up taking more damage. And as you can see, this is actually just as effective, maybe a little bit more. Maybe not quite. But let's see what it looks like when it procs. My life is at about 12,000, and wow, it did just proc, didn't it? No, it didn't proc yet even. So let's go ahead and let it proc, and then we'll see what my life per second is. Alright, so now it procced. And I am taking, I'm taking a decent amount of damage, but my toughness is at 7 mil now. So you guys can see that, you know, because the dodge percentage is lower than the barb, it's not like as effective, but you know, it's still very, very doable. And I'm still standing here face tanking, doing nothing but just left clicking. I'm ignoring all ground effects. I don't care. I can handle them just fine. You know, I can stand on an arcane beam origin point, and if things get like real dicey, then I could just pop sanctuary, and now my health is staying completely topped off. So those two runes are pretty much interchangeable, and you know, with some better gear, you can do some pretty crazy things here. And the last thing that I'll show you guys is, you know, since I'm sure a lot of you will be trying to do this with a pole monk, let's use Cyclone Strike, and let's do like, oh, we don't really need this. Let's do Implosion, just for kicks. Yeah, let's do Implosion. Let's go back here and see what this looks like, kind of in action. And let's actually let's get some sweeping wind going. You know, this is literally all you would do. And you can just stand here and left click, right click. You'll be just fine. You probably don't even need that near-death experience passive. I just had it to showcase, you know, how this would work. But there you go. Like I don't have to maneuver around ground effects. Don't have to do anything. I can, I can tank this all day long. And you know, your sweeping wind is actually going to be doing very, very nice damage. And it's going to keep, keep the mobs grouped up, keep them away from ranged classes so they can deal damage. So this is actually a really, really nice group build. So there you go, guys. That's how you do it. So ROS is coming out in a few hours. We'll be streaming, gonna be playing. Hopefully the servers don't crash. And by the way, this is the first video that I'm making on my new system. I got all my settings cranked way up. So, and this is going to be in 1080p. And just a quick note on that, the way YouTube works is when you upload videos, 1080p takes a lot longer to process, especially with larger sized videos. So if you watch this and you can only watch it in 720p, you're gonna have to give it a few hours. You know, if you might want to wait a few hours if you're a subscriber and you get a notification if you actually want to watch it in 1080p because it takes longer to process. So anyway, guys, I am going to continue this in ROS, and you know, I'll see you guys there. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thumbs up if you liked the video, and I'll see you soon.